Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are taking an analytical deep dive into a truly chilling paranormal case file that has literally captivated and terrified an entire college campus for years. I want you to picture this. It's exactly midnight. The whole college is just submerged in pitch darkness. Four shadows are standing in front of the heavily sealed wooden doors of a third-floor library. As they push those doors open, they're immediately hit by this foul, heavy wave of rotting books and damp air. Suddenly, their EMF meter just starts spiking erratically. It's an incredibly ominous setting, right? But the craziest part is that it's completely rooted in a decades-old mystery. So let's dive right into this. Now, you might be wondering what sits at the very heart of this case file. Basically, why on earth was the third-floor college library sealed shut for over a decade? For years, there were absolutely no official notices explaining it. There was just this deeply ingrained generational fear. Senior students would pass down a strict unspoken warning to all the freshmen. Do not go near that library, not during the day, and absolutely never at night. Students would literally grip each other's hands just walking past the stairwell, completely paralyzed by the fear of the unknown locked behind those doors. Setting the stage with Section 1, the Forbidden Third Floor. Now, as with any classic urban legend, someone is always going to refuse to blindly follow the rules, right? And here we see a really stark contrast in behavior. On one side, you've got the normal student body, just totally paralyzed by inherited fear and campus rumors. But on the other side, you have a student named Abe. Abe was driven by logic, curiosity, and the teachings of his grandfather, Pandit Harish Chandra Verma, who was a tantric. His grandfather taught him that understanding must always come before fear. Abe realized something crucial. If an entity was truly trapped in that library, it was there for a reason. It was hiding an unfinished truth.
Which brings us to Section 2, Defying the Principal's Warning.
Armed with this logic, Abhay and his friends boldly marched up to the administrative building to confront the college principal, Dr. Sharma, demanding the truth. Well, the principal's response laid out a chilling timeline that basically built the foundation of the lockdown. 12 years prior, a junior librarian named Shekhar was assigned the night shift. By morning, he was found lying inside the library, completely unconscious and entirely mute. When he finally recovered enough to speak, he revealed that something had called out his name from the darkness. Shekhar ended up quitting his job just weeks later, and his final haunting justification to the administration was this exact quote: "She keeps watching me read." I mean, wow. That brilliantly illustrates exactly why the administration slammed those doors shut in the first place. But for Abhay, this wasn't a reason to run away at all. Actually, scratch that. It was pure confirmation. So despite threats of severe disciplinary action, the students resolved to secretly investigate anyway. Moving into Section 3, 3 Nights of Terror. Knowing they desperately needed a professional approach, the students secretly brought in a paranormal investigator, Dr. Siddharth Mehta, under the cover of night. And they didn't just walk in blindly. Dr. Mehta arrived with a highly specialized paranormal toolkit, EMF meters to track electromagnetic fields, thermal sensors for sudden temperature drops, night cameras, and digital recorders for electronic voice phenomena. He even paired this modern tech with traditional protective elements, like candles and salt. The atmosphere inside that rotting, damp library was heavy and totally suffocating. The investigation spanned 3 progressively terrifying nights, and the escalation was intense. On night 1, the very second the EMF meter was turned on, it spiked aggressively, even though there was literally no active wiring in the room. Flashlights and tube lights dimmed and died instantly. On night 2, the entity grew significantly bolder. Books started physically flying off the shelves, and the students' cell phones drained from 20% to 0% in mere minutes. That's a classic sign of an entity pulling energy. By night 3, the library was in total chaos. Heavy furniture was scattered everywhere, and an unnatural freezing wind ripped through the room, forcing the team to completely evacuate before dawn. But the most damning evidence of all came from the digital recorder on that second night. Right in the middle of all the chaos and failing tech, the recorder picked up these unnatural, distinct whispers. When the students finally played it back, one of them just looked at the investigator and whispered, "Sir, that voice is not ours." They had successfully documented the presence, for sure, but they had also made a massive miscalculation. And that leads us right into Section 4, the haunting spreads. You see, by forcing those doors open and interacting with the spirit, they didn't just agitate it, they unleashed it upon the entire college campus. What started as a localized haunting rapidly mutated into a mass outbreak of panic. Students started reporting terrifying things: shadowy figures just sitting on the last benches of empty classrooms, echoing footsteps heard in completely locked washrooms, the distinct sounds of a girl crying echoing through the campus at night, and a dark silhouette repeatedly spotted in the hostel windows. The furious principal hauled the students back in, finally realizing that lives were now genuinely at risk. Now for Section 5, the 20-year-old dark secret. Realizing that science alone absolutely couldn't stop what they had started, Dr. Mehta called in a different kind of expert, a seasoned tantric named Satya Dev Baba. Brought directly to the library doors, Baba realized something profound almost immediately. The spirit wasn't inherently evil, it was fiercely, fiercely angry. So, he initiated a methodical seance. He drew a protective boundary of salt, lit the candles, and began chanting ancient Sanskrit mantras. Instantly, the room's temperature plummeted, and the EMF meters just screamed to life. Through that heavy, freezing air, Dr. Mehta's digital recorder captured a crystal-clear, incredibly chilling response to the tantric summons. The voice simply said, "I was bound here." Just those 5 words, but they completely shifted the narrative. Suddenly, this wasn't just a haunting anymore. It was a crime scene. When Satya Dev Baba communicated with the spirit, a massive, decades-old institutional cover-up was finally dragged into the light. 20 years ago, the spirit was actually a female librarian at the college. She was wrongfully framed for a mistake by a corrupt professor, and when she threatened to expose the truth, she was murdered right there in the library. To protect the college's reputation, the administration staged the murder as a suicide. Because of this massive injustice, and because she was brutally denied her proper last rites, her soul became trapped within those walls, furious and just waiting to be heard. Which brings us to our final chapter, Section 6, Liberation and Ultimate Peace. The haunting wasn't some evil curse, it was a desperate plea for justice. Now that the truth was finally exposed, Satya Dev Baba knew exactly how to release her. At exactly 2:30 in the morning, a mukti, or liberation, ritual was performed. A traditional Havenkund was lit right in the center of the rotting library. They spoke her name with respect, offering new clothes and pure water to the fire to finally grant her the dignity she was denied in life. As the final mantras were spoken, the EMF meters dropped completely to zero. That heavy, oppressive air just vanished. Peace was finally restored to the campus. The entity finally found its rest, and the campus could breathe again. But honestly, this story leaves us with a really lingering, unsettling thought. If one single act of defiance by a curious student could uncover a 20-year-old murder hidden by a respected institution, well, it makes you wonder. The library is peaceful now, but how many other untold injustices are currently trapped behind closed doors, just waiting for someone brave enough to open them? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, and until next time, stay curious.